Hi, how's everybody doing? This is our fourth video in our series on basic preparedness categories. This one's going to be covering communications. Again, all of these videos, as I've stated in previous videos, are broad stroke overviews of the concepts that my family and I use to be prepared and proactive. That's the same for this video. So just kind of started off, when you're dealing with communications, as a family, you're going to want to develop what's called a PACE plan, which stands for PACE. And it means what your primary means of communication, your alternate means of communication, your contingency means of communication, and your emergency means of communication. What this is going to do is you're going to have fallback plans with your means of communication, whether your primary may be a cell phone, your secondary may be email through Wi-Fi if cell towers are down, so on and so forth. And a lot of people want to get into radio. And with radio, I always try to inform people that there's several different radio services that we use here in the US, and that's who I'm speaking to primarily. And first you have the FRS, which is the basic bubble pack radios. That stands for Family Radio Service. Those radios, normally you'll get maybe a mile or two, depending on line of sight. And what I mean by line of sight is what's in the way between the 2 points, the two communicating points. Now, GMRS, which stands for General Mobile Radio Service, is a licensed by the FCC radio service, but you don't have to take any tests. All you have to do is pay the fee, which I believe is around $35 now. And not only are you licensed, but your entire family, immediate family, is licensed. So everybody that lives with you, your immediate family, is licensed under that call sign. For instance, my call sign is Whiskey Sierra Echo Alpha 270. And with that call sign, you can basically look everything up about me, but it's public information when you're licensed. The next thing people start looking at is amateur radio, ham radios. So with that, you do have to take a test, a series of tests to get the highest license. There's 3 licenses. You do have to take a series of tests, and with those tests, you get your technician license, your general, and then your extra. I'm going to end up making a video on all of that and what that means. But just for now, amateur radio is what I primarily use for me and my family, even though we have a GMRS license. This is what I train on. I've done a lot of work with ham radio. This is a HF radio, so this would be your ability to communicate worldwide. This is a VHF, UHF, which would be more using like repeater systems or line of sight, local within 50 to 100 miles. And then normally everybody, I recommend start out with something like this, just a little bell thing. A lot of people will complain about these, but they work. You can get this exact Baofeng for like $70 right now with an improved $20 antenna. And these work great if you want to get your license and utilize it to its full capabilities. This also has AM band, FM. It's got listen to aircraft. So they come in handy. Weather. Now, in an emergency, I will say you do not have to have a license. So if you have one of these radios and you're in a legitimate emergency, you can use ham frequencies. But I encourage everybody to get their license. You'll learn a lot about radio. You'll learn a lot about communications, especially emergency communications. But yeah, starting off with something like this is what I encourage everybody to do. And then kind of, really beyond that, when it comes to communications, it's just, how far are you wanting to communicate? With whom are you wanting to communicate? Family members across a country, or family members within a city or across a state. These are all things that you need to consider when developing your PACE plan and who is involved in your PACE plan. Because you may need something like this to talk to somebody in California if the grid is down, whereas you may need just something like this to talk to somebody on the other side of the city when the grid's down. Or if you're local, within miles, or using a repeater with one of these handhelds, you can also use one of those. So there's a lot of different things to consider when it comes to communications. Primarily, the first thing you need to worry about is developing that PACE plan, that your primary, your alternate, your contingency, and your emergency means of communication. And then once you do that, that'll give you an idea of what you have available, what you need, what your weak points are, and what you need to develop. But I just kind of wanted to make this quick overview on what communications is for me and my family, what we use, show you some of the equipment, and talk about some of the licensing and things you can do. I will be making a series of videos to help you get your technician license, which is I recommend you can get that for anybody. And there's no age requirement, so kids can get it and everything. And it's the basic license at a minimum if you want to get into ham radio and emergency communications. As always, thanks for watching. I appreciate the time you take to watch these videos and me ramble. So have a good night.